Everyday Emotions presents another unforgettable story full of drama, emotion, and surprise. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and press that notification bell so you don't miss a video.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a story that is just incredibly heartfelt, but also pretty dramatic. We're looking at a completely unexpected situation that unfolded at an animal shelter. It's a story about a deep sense of duty, that creeping fear of the unknown, and honestly, a totally bewildering medical mystery. When you really strip away all the layers here, it's an exploration of what it actually means to be a caregiver when the stakes are incredibly high and the path forward, well, it's completely obscured. How do you protect someone who literally cannot speak for themselves? I really want you to just sit with that for a second. Try to imagine the heavy emotional stakes when you are solely responsible for a life that looks directly to you for safety but has absolutely zero capacity to understand danger, right? This is the exact real-life scenario our story revolves around today. Okay, let's dive into this. The whole narrative kicks off with a very specific, incredibly delicate arrival at a local animal shelter. We have the sweet golden retriever, and she isn't just a rescue. She is highly vulnerable, and she's pregnant. So she comes into this loud, unfamiliar shelter environment carrying not just herself, but a whole litter of unborn puppies. And she arrives with nothing but absolute trust in these strangers, totally dependent on the humans around her to just provide a safe haven.
Which naturally brings us to this core concept, responsibility. The state of having a real duty to deal with something. In our source material, this definition perfectly mirrors the actions of a brand new employee at the shelter named Macy. Because taking on a pregnant rescue dog, that's not just some task you casually check off on a clipboard. It is a profound, heavy burden of care. And for a new employee stepping into this role, well, it requires a massive leap of faith and dedication.
The source specifically highlights that Macy actively made a choice here. She decides to personally look after this expectant mother. She didn't pass the buck to someone more senior. No, she saw a vulnerable creature in need of a guardian and immediately stepped up to shoulder that burden. With deep respect for the life right in front of her, Macy basically became the tether connecting this dog to safety.
So what actually drove her to do this? Well, the text is explicitly clear about this. It was Macy's deeply compassionate nature. Compassion, right? That sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. It was this exact trait that fueled her unwavering dedication. She saw a mother in desperate need, and her immediate, visceral instinct was just to protect.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because, as you might know, there's a very standard protocol in animal rescue. First, you have the rescue and arrival, which we just covered. The dog is secured. The next logical step is always the medical assessment. You check the vitals, see what kind of shape the animal is in. But it's exactly in that second step where the standard routine completely derails, plunging Macy straight into step 3, facing the terrifying unknown.
During that veterinary exam, they perform what should be a totally routine ultrasound to check on the puppies. But the results are anything but routine. The ultrasound reveals some very unexpected and genuinely frightening abnormalities. We're talking severe warning signs here. Just think about how the atmosphere in that exam room must have shifted in a split second. You go from the standard, hopeful routine of checking on new life to just a sudden, chilling dread. Something is terribly, terribly wrong.
If we trace Macy's psychological journey as a caregiver through all of this, it looks exactly like this timeline. They start out with so much hope upon the dog's arrival. Then, bam, the ultrasound brings pure dread. Then begins this agonizing, anxious wait. The heavy uncertainty of just not knowing what these abnormalities actually mean in the real world. And finally, the birth itself, which results in absolute heart-pounding shock. Macy is walking this intensely stressful, emotional path every single day she cares for this dog. This entire crisis is anchored by one chilling reality from the text. Macy was warned by the veterinarian about abnormalities in the puppies on the ultrasound. The absolutely crucial point here is the sheer terror of receiving this kind of medical warning. Macy knows something is potentially very, very wrong, but she looks down at this sweet golden retriever who literally cannot understand a single word the vet just said. The dog trusts Macy completely, totally unaware of this dark shadow hanging over her pregnancy. Can you even imagine the heavy weight of that uncertainty? Macy has to continue all her normal daily care routines, the feeding, the walking, soothing this dog, all while silently bracing herself for the absolute worst-case scenario. Every innocent tail wag from this expectant mother is juxtaposed against the terrifying knowledge of what that ultrasound actually showed. It is just an agonizing emotional tightrope for any caregiver to have to walk. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive divide she was facing. On one hand, you've got her expectations, providing predictable shelter care for a standard, cute litter of golden retriever puppies. But staring right back at her was a much starker reality, an abnormal ultrasound and a terrifying, totally unknown set of medical challenges. She signed up to help, sure, but she was handed a complete medical mystery that literally threatened the lives of the animals she swore to protect.
Well, after all that agonizing waiting, the moment of truth finally arrives. The pacing of the entire shelter shifts into high gear as the golden retriever officially goes into labor. All of that dread, the urgent preparations, the compassionate care over the past few weeks, it all funnels down into this single, frantic, incredibly high-stakes event. It's time to see exactly what those ultrasound abnormalities actually were.
And the result is absolutely shocking. The text describes it as a bewildering sight. And it really is, because the golden retriever doesn't give birth to what we normally expect, but thankfully she also doesn't give birth to a tragic, heartbreaking outcome that those severe warning signs might have pointed to. Instead, she gives birth to mysterious cow puppies. Yes, you heard that right. The puppies emerge completely unusual, totally defying all expectations of what a golden retriever's litter should even look like.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Macy's reaction, which was incredibly complex. As the source details, her heart swelled with a mix of wonder and concern. And I think that just perfectly captures the intense emotional duality of the caretaker in this climax. She is hit with two overwhelming, totally conflicting emotions at the exact same time.
Let's actually break that duality down for a second. On one side, she experiences profound wonder. It's this unique, bewildering sight that sparks immense curiosity. But right alongside it, still heavily weighing on her, is serious concern. She cannot just forget the vet's stark warnings, right? Just because the puppies look uniquely like little cows doesn't mean they're out of the woods. What are their unknown medical needs? A true caregiver must simultaneously marvel at the unexpected while still actively managing this profound anxiety for their vulnerable charges.
But Macy wasn't alone in her reaction. This bewildering event sent ripples to the entire shelter. The source notes that the cow puppies quickly captured the attention and sparked deep curiosity in everyone who encountered them. That heavy, suffocating dread from the earlier weeks, it officially lifted. The unknown went from being purely frightening to being a source of communal fascination and pure wonder.
Ultimately, Macy had to push past her initial shock. Moving forward required exactly what she started with, an unwavering dedication to their well-being. She continued nurturing the golden retriever, and she eagerly took on the task of caring for this highly unusual litter. She let her deep compassion completely overcome the terrifying hurdles of the unknown, ensuring that no matter how bewildering the situation got, her charges remained safe, healthy, and deeply loved.
Which leaves us with the ultimate mystery directly from our source material. How on earth could such a unique occurrence have transpired? A golden retriever giving birth to cow puppies after a highly concerning ultrasound. It is a biological marvel wrapped up in a truly beautiful story of human responsibility and compassion. I'll leave you to ponder the science and the sheer wonder of that outcome. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this incredible journey of caregiving, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.